Hi, Hugo.
Good. Hi, Veronica. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. What about you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, busy schedule. Appreciate you coming.
Indeed, of course.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Hugo and Veronica. And of course, to all listeners, really appreciate the turnout and for these questions submitted beforehand. So for today, as always, we'll be running through a 30 minutes session and followed up by a 15 minutes live Q&A. Unfortunately, just bear in mind for this time, though we do appreciate the proposed questions, the Flare team might not be able to answer all of them because they still have items that they'll be working on. But of course, they have exciting developments about current projects and features that we'll be happy to share as well. Yeah, without further ado, let's move on. For those from the SafePal community that haven't, of course, about Flare as well, could I trouble Hugo to do a brief introduction? And of course, for those who's coming over for the Flare community, for Veronica, followed by Veronica to share a little bit more about what we are doing here at SafePal. Yeah, Hugo, I'll leave the floor to you.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely. Look, Flare is a new layer one. It's an EVM power. This means that Flare has smart contracts that are based on the Ethereum virtual machine, so they can be coded up in Solidity. We chose the EVM because about 98% of developers in the space know how to use EVM, know how to build smart contracts using Solidity. But Flare's a layer one with two major differences, and we built it specifically to have these differences. So Flare has two protocols. The first is what we call the Flare time series oracle. That is a time series oracle, meaning data that is probabilistic and moves over time. So at the moment, that's delivering prices for cryptocurrencies, but it could deliver prices for financial assets. It could deliver indices. It could deliver weather data. It could deliver carbon emissions data to the network. So that's the first protocol. The second protocol is something we call the state connector. The state connector can do two things. Firstly, it can come to consensus over the state of another blockchain, so what has happened on another blockchain, and second, it can come to consensus over what has happened on a single source of truth API. So for instance, like the Twitter, we can essentially prove data from Twitter onto Flare. And most important about Flare is this is not a blockchain with oracles on top, like other blocks. The problem with those oracles is they tend to be extremely centralized and have very limited safety guarantees, because unless you're securing these data provision layers with an actual decentralized network, a true decentralized network, then you're not really getting any meaningful decentralization. So these protocols, the FTSO, the state connector, and what we call the web connector, which is a subsetting of the state connector, are built directly into the network. And this is really important because it allows us to do so much more than existing layer ones.
That's really interesting, Hugo. Thanks for sharing so comprehensively. And of course, I think there's a lot of value alignment with what we do here at SafePal as well, because we're very much pro decentralization. And of course, with certain Black Swan events that happened last year, I think everyone is, whether they like it or not, starting to realize the importance of, or rather the risk of when you're using over-centralized services. That's really great to hear. And of course, I'm sure the community here will be looking forward to hear a lot more about Flare as we move on with the AMA as well. Yeah, thanks for sharing. So next, I'll leave Veronica to introduce SafePal a little bit more to those from Flare that have come over here. Yeah, Veronica.
Thank you. Firstly, really appreciate Hugo's time joining the episode today. So hi, everyone. This is Veronica, CEO of SafePal. So SafePal offers a comprehensive wallet suite for people to secure and grow their crypto wealth. So right now, we offer hardware wallet, mobile wallet, and browser extension all in one place, so that people can choose whichever type of wallet they would like to secure their private keys. So till this moment, we are serving up to 8 million users global-wide from 200 plus countries. And it's our honor to have Flare here in our community to share more about their progresses, because SafePal has supported Flare mainnets and also including the Songbird like testnet, and also the token delegation right in the app already. So if you are a FAR holder, if you download a SafePal app, you have a FAR. You can find the delegation from the FAR balance page, and also in our DApp store. Yeah, I will return the microphone to CJ, and thank you for letting me to introduce a little bit about SafePal. Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica. And of course, it's really nice of Hugo to join us on our 5th anniversary as well. And yeah, I think there's a lot of value here that we provide, especially since we are one of the first to integrate and also provide the delegation and staking. Yeah, without further ado, we'll move on to some of the questions provided by the community. And the first one would be by Mr. Aim High. And I believe this is more for Flare and Hugo. Yeah, he says, connecting everything, I just want to know if there is any asset bridging, since your project seems to be connecting everything. Also, bridging comes with lots of security loopholes. Please, can you assure us, rather, what would be some of the assurances or security measures that you have in place to prevent this? Yeah.
So Flare's a layer one. So it's a layer one blockchain. It has goals for state connection, the FTSO, that are designed to enable people to build interoperability applications on top of Flare. So you can think of Flare as a layer one that can absorb data from other chains and the internet. It doesn't specifically have bridging protocols as part of Flare network. We have put forward 2 bridging protocols conceptually. We have been spending a good part of the last 4 years thinking about how to do bridging properly, and some of that comes through in our work with regards to the bridging protocols that we have put forward. But ultimately, you can think of Flare as a layer one. It will have its own layer one ecosystem on which you can build an application that either uses the ecosystem natively or uses data from outside of the ecosystem, or you can build on top of Flare not just as a native layer one, but you can build interoperability applications that are secured by. To give you an example, one particular development group that is external to Flare is looking at building a relay of our Oracle prices to other blockchain, and that relay system would be, if they do end up building it, and I can't give you any guarantee they will end up building it, but certainly it's a very interesting concept, that will be secured by Flare. And we've built Flare as this open tool set to build interoperability applications and a native layer one ecosystem at the same time.
Yep. Thanks for sharing that, Hugo. I think especially when it comes to price oracles and data feeds, it's really important to be accurate and also decentralized, because I think there have been cases over the years where, I think degens being degens, taking on too much leverage, have resulted in flash crashes and a lot of black swan events. So that's really nice to see what Flare is.
Yeah, we've certainly seen that with competing oracles. And today we have over 80 data providers in our FTSO, Flare Time Series Oracle system. It would be very hard to create a very large price disturbance in our Oracle system. Accuracy matters, and the Flare Time Series Oracle is highly accurate relative to competition, but decentralization actually matters just as much.
Yeah, I think 80 is definitely a very healthy number, and I think it will really take way too much effort and, of course, be pretty difficult for any bad to take advantage of that. So that's really reassuring to hear. I'm pretty sure the user who asked this question will be pretty happy to hear that. And also, just to make a comparison, how does these oracles differ from like third-party oracle services?
So third-party Oracle services are built on top of a chain. Broadly, it's very hard to decentralize that because you're competing with the native token, essentially. So usually, in the example, is most people are using the native token for staking of validators. It's very hard then to create a secondary system on top of that that has sufficient token distribution, sufficient value to secure an Oracle. So what we do is we use our native token to secure what we call the Flare Time Series Oracle providers, so the data providers, and those data providers eventually will become the validators on Flare. So we're essentially creating the validator and Oracle role as the same role, and therefore it's massively more decentralized and has the entire ecosystem token essentially leveraging that security.
I think that's a really good approach as well, because that also incentivizes, I think, the oracles to behave in accountable manner, since they're also at the same time are validators in the network. So it's in their best interest to be that way.
Yeah, those validators will eventually be directly staked. So if they try to do things that are damaging, they would obviously harm their own stake, and you derive security guarantees that way.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing, Hugo. Yep. Moving on to some of the other questions, also by Mr. Aim Hai as well. This one will be geared more towards Paul and Veronica, of course, but more also on security as well. He says, I understand that using a hardware wallet reduces one's chances of losing assets due to online exposure. What are your plans in marketing your hardware wallet across the globe? And if I have to order, how long will it take to be delivered? Is there any need to regularly update the hardware wallet?
Yeah, thank you for the question. For S1 hardware wallet has been launched in 2019, so it's been 4 years out there on the market. So right now we have different sales channels to make sure that the global communities get early access to our products. So we have reseller network in 30 plus countries. We have been working with more than like a few thousands of affiliates. We do have a solid affiliate programs that we join hands together with our affiliate partners. Some of them are KOLs, some of them are kind of creators, some of them are people who are interested generally in the technology. We also have our own online shop so that people can straight order and they can even pay in crypto. So these are the direct sales channels that we have. And also we are partnering with local communities to really bring our products to locals such as Russia, such as Latin America, such as different places like Europe and North America. So S1 Hardware Wallet has been one of our major products, and it's also one of our earliest products. It lays the foundation of the brand security and also builds the trust between the brand and also the initial supporters of the SafePal Hardware Wallet. I think if you are ever interested, feel free to visit our website, .com. You can learn more about the details there. For delivery, it really depends on which countries and region that you order the product from. So for example, if you're located in North America, probably it takes like up within a week, it should be arriving. And if it's Europe, it should be the same. But if it's other regions of the world, probably depends on like the address and also which country, and also it depends on how long the local customs could take. So it's really case by case. So should you have any question, we also have a dedicated customer support team that you can leave your question at, and we will answer all of that as soon as we can. As for product, I think there's another question about product update. Am I right, CJ? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
we do support firmware upgrades, and we do recommend people to regularly update the wallet. But rest assured that if you don't update it, it's not gonna impact your user experience. So regular firmware update is to enable you to onboard the new features such as new blockchains, some major upgrades to the user experience in the product, for example. So it's great to keep the device updated so that you can have the early access to all of the features available. But if you don't update it, it should be fine. It's not mandatory. That's for your information. We do have a firmware upgrades page on the website where you can dig out more details. And we have also explained the security mechanisms behind the scenes about like why it is secure to really upgrade the device and what are the efforts that we have spent and taken to protect users and protect their private key stored in the device during the firmware upgrade. So feel free to dig out more. If you have any question, leave us a CS ticket. We will reply and explain as soon as we can. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for sharing, Veronica. And to recap what she mentioned, do visit our official sitemap. For those who are interested, safepal.com/sitemap. We have tabs to contact our customer support, download centers to upgrade your firmware, and of course, the online store for the hardware all happen to be there as well. And do use our dedicated support channels because we are using it to maximize security and privacy. Yeah, and beware of scammers who tend to impersonate a team because we will never ask to DM or fill out Google Forms. Yeah. Okay, so moving on back to Flare and Hugo as well. We talked a little bit about your Oracle system with 80 participants earlier. Could you share a little bit more about your Flare Time Series Oracle or the FTSO specifically, and a little bit more about why it's really important for your ecosystem?
Yeah, we have two protocols. The FTSO is one of them. So Flare Time Series Oracle is essentially a highly decentralized protocol for safely retrieving external time series data. So this is data that does not exist on the blockchain. So to give you an example of what we're currently retrieving, we are retrieving, I think, 13 different asset prices, crypto asset prices from hundreds of exchanges. And obviously, as you don't have a single source of truth for these prices, you can't just pull from an API and then do some kind of proof of stake certification on it. It's not possible really to come to consensus over that price because there is no one price. And so the Flare Time Series Oracle is going to ameliorate that issue by essentially allowing multiple participants to put their best estimate of price into the system and then removing outliers. So we chop off the top 25 and bottom 25 tails, then taking a weighted median. The weighted median is weighted by the delegation to each provider. So each user, each token holder, each Flare token holder has a vote attached to their token, essentially, which they bestow upon an Oracle provider. And in return, that voter essentially gets some share of the rewards that Oracle provider, about 80%, 80 to 90% of the rewards that our Oracle provider earns. And each Oracle provider puts in essentially their best guess and is rewarded if they get into the middle of the distribution. And that happens at the moment every 3 minutes. And as I said, we have about 13 price pairs. There's about 80, but actually on Fleur, I think there's coming up to about 100 data providers. And we're looking at how that system can be scaled, how we can have more price pairs, how we can have more providers. Obviously, ultimately, the desire would be to have thousands of prices and thousands of providers.
Thanks for sharing in detail, Hugo. I think that's one of the unique and I would say meaningful things about blockchain as well, that token holders and the community can actually actively participate to stabilize the protocols and ecosystem and also contribute to the stability and security overall. I believe you've also done a new demo using your two protocols, right? The State Connector and FTSO.
Yeah, absolutely. That's available on our Twitter. You can see the replay of that. It's really quite good fun. So one of the things you can do with Flare's interoperability protocols, specifically the state connector and the FTSO, is with the FTSO, you can price something in a different asset. So let's call that an NFT. I can now price that in Bitcoin. I can price that in Ethereum. I can price that in XRP or Doge or whatever currency you want. Then with the state connector, a transaction can be made on another chain. For instance, the demo earlier this week made a transaction on XRP, and separately for a different NFT, a transaction on the Doge chain. And those transactions can then be verified by the state connector proven onto Flare. Using the price and the fact that transaction happened, we can then trigger the delivery of an NFT to the person who essentially paid for it on the other chain. So you're paying on one chain, receiving an NFT on Flare. What does that let you do? It's a general class of functionality we have called a smart contract trigger. We think that's extremely useful for many different applications, not just the purchase of NFTs. But in this very limited example, it allows the marketplace that is attached to Flare to be able to offer NFTs in essentially any currency settled on any chain that is connected to Flare, that is.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear about a demo. So for those who haven't, do visit the Flare Twitter, like Hugo mentioned, to check out the video on the demo. And it's really nice to see that this use case and demo is also catered to help pricing more accurately for NFTs, because I think that's one of the issues that have been plaguing marketplaces and creators alike. Yeah.
But also, most importantly, not just locking NFTs into one user base, right? So
Yep,
if you sell
exactly.
if you sell an NFT on Solana, you're basically locked into that user base. If you sell an NFT on Ethereum, you're locked into that user base. Okay, the Ethereum user base is big, but it's not 100% of everyone in crypto. What we're trying to aim to do is to be able to give NFT issuers, whether they're artists, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's metaverse NFTs, we're aiming to give them the broadest market possible. And that is the ability to pay in as many tokens as possible.
Yep, that's great to hear indeed. Yes, very true. I think no one should ever be forcibly locked into a specific ecosystem, and one of the benefits of blockchain Web3 should be interoperability. On NFTs, I think we have a question from a user that I think is geared towards SafePal Veronica. This Big Win says, how's SafePal supporting the creators, influencers, artists, and devs in Web3? In what way possible? Can you give us more details? Yeah.
Thank you. I want to call back what Hugo mentioned. We are also a strong fan of interoperability between different chains. That's why we want to build a cross-chain experience for everyone that's equal. So I'm strongly on the side of supporting multi-chain ecosystem and also allowing users to navigate as they like into different universe, into different places. So that's a very good point, Hugo. Thanks for sharing. Back to the question, supporting creators, influencers, and devs. So SafePal is here to build the next generation of Web3 gateway to to the crypto communities, to the users, to people who are pursuing financial freedom and financial opportunity in Web3. So what we are right now currently doing is to provide a safe place and also useful place for people to store, manage, grow, and yield their own crypto assets. And regarding crypto assets, or more wider term, should be a decentralized assets, because in the future, the assets on chain should not be limited to cryptocurrencies, but also to other type of assets like NFTs and mirror assets, real estate, etc. So there are a lot more possibilities in the space out there about what decentralized assets would look like. So SafePal is here really to protect the people from potential attacks, from potential kind of phishing and scamming. So this is our mission. So for us to protect, like what we are doing for creators, influencers, artists, and devs is really to create a hub and gateway for them to safely navigate through the metaverse and the like kind of the unlimited possibility empowered by blockchain. Like for example, when people want to onboard to NFT, when they first start to collect their first ever NFT, whether it's JPEG, whether it's like a video clip, or they always need a safe place to store their valuable belongings. And here is what SafePal is really built for. And for dApps, we have been very supportive to those builders in the ecosystem because SafePal value open and transparent and equal and cross-chain partnerships in different ecosystems as always. We have been working with a lot of teams in the Web3 spaces, GameFi, DeFi, NFT, Metaverse, you name it. So we are very supportive to all of those promising teams and projects and foundations who are bringing the next generation and user experience to the ecosystem by introducing them to the community. So those who have been using SafePal and our supporters and fans out there, they know that we have gifts, we have wallet holder offerings, and we are also developing a new type of system to really support that vision. So we really strongly believe that the ecosystem cannot flourish or cannot be prosperous with only a single team's efforts. It has to be work and built hand in hand by a lot of builders and devs and creators and artists all together. So we are always open to all kinds of possibilities of supporting each other, about helping projects to grow, about building bridge to really let the communities to understand what the next generation of the technology would look like. So it's really great. I'm very excited that Hugo joined the conversation today because it's a rare chance that we have a layer one to really join us into the conversation, because what he's been sharing is really representing the next wave or the next trend of the blockchain technology, and we feel also very excited about that. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah, as always, we are quite open. We always embrace different types of partnerships, and we are keen to build connection with the people, with the talents, with the projects in the space. And I believe that would be our biggest contribution to the ecosystem, that is to support each other and also to build as useful as secure tools as we can.
Yeah, I think that covers things very nicely, Veronica. Thanks for sharing so in depth, because I think one of the things I think is really fun and enjoyable about SafePal is that we're blockchain agnostic, and more importantly, we support all Web3 verticals, like you mentioned. So basically, we want to make any meaningful project safe and accessible for our user base, and of course next wave of users that will be entering Web3 and crypto as well. For those projects or builders that are interested in exploring partnerships, do visit our site map that I mentioned earlier, or reach out to us through email as well, or even on Twitter, and we'll be happy to follow up. Yeah, back to Hugo and Flare about community and holders. You mentioned that token holders can already participate and delegate their tokens with staking. Would you want to share a little bit more about how they can participate in the Flare network today, and maybe a little bit more also about the Flare improvement proposal that has been recently approved by your community? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The first responsibility of a token holder really is to use it to secure the oracle, the FTSO that is, and that's through delegation, for which you earn a return. Then really, it's important to note that those delegated flare, which we call wrapped flare, they remain in the user's wallet, which lets them both essentially earn that reward within their wallet, or if it's put in an application, they can earn that reward within an application. That's really important. Second kind of use case for the token is, of course, governance. There's regular governance proposals on the network, or in fact on both of our networks, Flare and our canary network, Songbird, have both had several governance proposals in the last couple of weeks. And there's a great portal for this called the Flare portal. So it's portal.flare.network, which lets you do governance, wrap your tokens and delegate your tokens. And then lastly, we had one of the first governance proposal called FIP01. Flare Improvement Proposal 1 was a proposal to change the way that the token is distributed. So originally the token was distributed 100% to some people that took part in the snapshot in 2020, snapshot of the XRP ledger. That distribution has changed such that those people got 15% of their distribution, and then the remaining distribution only goes to those who hold Flare, essentially wrapped Flare on the network. So each month for 36 months, there is a series of snapshots. From the average of those snapshots, depending on how much Flare you're holding, there is a distribution of a fixed amount of tokens. And essentially, imagine you have 100 tokens and I have 50 tokens, then I'm going to get 50 of those 100 tokens being distributed. So the remainder of our distribution, so the 85% of the tokens that are going to the public, are being distributed to the public through their holding of wrapped Flare on the network. And that was what FIPO1 did.
Sure, thanks for sharing, Hugo, as well. And for those who are interested to read more about the proposal, where should they go? Is it on, I believe it's publicly available on your website?
It's no longer for voting, so it's already passed, but it is on our blog, which is, I believe, blog.flare.network.
Sure. Yeah. So for those listeners that are curious, do visit the blog to find out more details. Yep. And on participation as well, I think Veronica already shared a little bit more about how we are supporting creators and protocols. And of course, for SafePal side, we do have a monthly community AMA coming up. Want to give a little bit more time to Flare because it's rare for L1 to join us. How can developers start building on your ecosystem? For Hugo, for developers who are looking to build on Flare, what steps and things can they do?
Absolutely. I just screwed up the blog. It's not Flare, blog.flare.network. It's flare.network/news. So that covers all of our latest news. The best place to start for a developer is flare.network/start-building. Otherwise, we have a really good doc site on our website. We have Telegram channel, we have Discord channel, we've got Twitter, of course, and there's quite a lot of resources and they're getting fleshed out every day. There's loads of community projects. So there's a Flare Builders site, which is not run by us. There's something called the FTSO Flare Metrics, which gives you metrics on the FTSOs. So Flare, as I said before, is EVM compatible. And so any application written in Solidity can be run on the network. And this means it's very easy to bring over applications from other EVM chains like Ethereum or Avalanche and deploy them directly and run them on Flare. Although we would recommend before running them on Flare that you run them on our canary network, Songbird. This is a canary network used to test the protocols, both the protocols that are developed in-house by Flare, such as the state connector and the FTSO, but also the protocols that developers build, especially when they're integrating a unique Flare service. We recommend that developers develop initially on Songbird, Flare's canary net, and then move their application once it's safe onto Flare. And we really look forward to helping developers get onto the chain. There are lots of builders tools. We have lots of people within the ecosystem that will help developers get used to Flare and work.
So for those developers that are interested, you can follow up through the sites there. Yeah, that information will be missed. Yeah, I think it's time for us to move on to the live Q&A. Before I open up the floor for Q&A, for those that are interested or have questions to ask either for SafePal or Flare, do raise your hand and I'll be able to open up the floor for that.
Yeah, I really want to meet Hugo. I really want to meet you and the team. Were there any upcoming Flare events or conferences or exciting activities for the year to come? Just curious.
Absolutely. We'll be at ETH Dubai. That's
okay, great to know.
Mid-March. Will you be there?
If you are going there, then I would double think about that. Because right now I don't currently have any plan.
You've got to come to Dubai. Dubai is the center of the crypto world right now.
Okay, that's very convincing. Thank you. Yeah, I will think about that. You right now currently based there?
Okay. Yeah, I live there and I'm trying to move as much of the team out there as possible.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Yeah, that's really my question. CJ, it's all yours.
Thanks for sharing, Hugo, as well. That's really interesting to hear and I look forward to all of those. If there is no listener that has a question, I'll probably run through some of the others that have been asked for SafePal. I guess it's quite apt and more related towards interoperability as well. Crypto Junk Lee Wan and Hasdan are asking about different chains. He asked, when will SafePal add proof of memes layer 1 EVM blockchain? There have been many waiting. And also Hasdan is asking about the native cross-chain swaps by integrating TorChain. Yeah.
Yes, actually, some of the chains already on the roadmap. So for those who be asking, could you please raise your hands and let us know what kind of chains you are specifically looking into? Because for the roadmap pipeline of supporting blockchains, it's really about like community, like how strong the user demand is. If a lot of people really need that and want that, feel free to raise your hand and pin us. It's either on social media, on Discord, or share through a customer support ticket, whatever. Just let us know. We do have an internal pool that we collect all kinds of feedback from different channels. So if we see a name of blockchain that's frequently popping up from different channels, we definitely take a second look into that. Or else we probably will pipeline them into the list and then we'll go support them one by one based on technical complexity, based on the dev schedule and based on other factors. So do let us know what specific kind of blockchain you are looking into. I heard Thorchain, but if there are some more many, please do let us know about your name list. Maybe you can share either in Discord or Twitter and like comment below. So yeah, looking forward to hear that. We are, like CJ mentioned, we are chain agnostic. So we openly embrace all kinds of technologies and blockchains in the ecosystem. Yeah, that means it's an equal chance that we have here. Yeah, feel free to let us know about what kind of specific chains you would like to hear to see us support. We'll really take that into consideration.
Yeah. On that, I think Hugo's raising his hands.
I wanted to ask if we can get some Flare branded SafePal devices for our community.
Yeah, sure. That would be super cool. Of course. I'm happy you asked that, Hugo. Yeah,
That'd
I
be
will
awesome.
DM you for more details though. We'll follow up.
I think co-branded or like special swag would be great for both communities, and that's really exciting to hear. So I'll be looking forward to that. Hugo, thanks for joining us. Would you have any closing thoughts or comments to share?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. We're all excited at Flare to deliver a really fantastic, interoperable ecosystem and really hope that we can inspire developers to build so much more in blockchain. There was a question I was asked the other day, is, what made you want to build Flare? And the reality is, the reason I wanted to build Flare is there's so little you can do in blockchain today. It's extremely limited in its applications. Yes, it's big, but it can be so much bigger. Flare is one part of making it much, much larger and much more interesting.
CJ, I think Hugo finished his closing part.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, thanks for the cue.
I'm
Yeah,
glad that
apologies.
everybody else can hear Hugo.
Yes, I really hope everyone else can hear. But I'm definitely gonna tune in the recording after this to hear what I missed out.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your closing thoughts and attending today as well, Hugo. For those that do have questions after listening to the recording as well, do feel free to post them in the tweet. And of course, if it's catered to a SafePal site, we'll be happy to follow up from there. And of course, for Flare, do visit their social channels and the links that we'll provide later as well. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining our spaces today. And of course, we do have upcoming monthly community AMA on next week as well. So look forward to that for those who have questions for the SafePal site as well.